I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out.
You want Philly?
Chase Utley, you are the man.
You come out backyard and you try to start something, you always get your butt kicked.
The prayers have been answered.
How about those Eagles, baby?
And Rio Muto can run for days.
Can you feel what's about to happen on this field, man?
A perfect game. Roy Halladay has thrown the second perfect game in Philadelphia Phillies history.
Alright, we are back here today with another Philly Talk episode. And there was a lot that happened. We only have about 6 games to cover, but there was a lot that happened in this week. So we're just going to get right into it with the good. And, this stretch was kind of awkward, but, one of the goods obviously was winning that series in St. Louis, 2-1. Pretty good outings in that St. Louis game. Edmundo Sosa, who has been filling in really nicely since Trey Turner has gone down. He does really well in this first St. Louis game when he got that home run. In the second St. Louis game, the bullpen really held it down in that game. Rhys also had a huge bomb in that one. I think it was like second deck. Real good there. And then yesterday, Milwaukee, game 1. Wheeler goes 7, especially because because of the London series. They mentioned that he's not going to be pitching until next Tuesday, I believe. I forget what it was exactly, but because he was gonna get a good amount of rest, they went super deep with him, so he went 7. But I like how the commentators mentioned that despite going 7 and despite having a good outing, it wasn't really the best because the main thing was the strike zone. Whatever the ump strike zone was. It kind of messed up his pitch count a lot because it was, and they mentioned it was for both sides, which is funny because you remember 2 years ago, all the calls that were getting missed in that infamous game with the Brewers and Phillies. Well, in this one, it was kind of the same thing where it was no one knew what the strike zone was. John Crook even made a funny joke about we're in I think it was the 8th inning and no one knows what the strike zone is. Kind of messed with a lot of pitchers' pitch count, but, still, you're glad Wheeler can give you 7. I will say the Brewers confused me yesterday because they did mention, that a lot of their pitchers are out on the injured list, I believe. So they were like, oh, you might see them throw out a couple guys. So the first inning, a guy goes out there and only throws 5 pitches, gets out of the inning, and you're expecting that guy to come back in because he only threw 5, but then they bring in another guy. And the weird part was they kept that second guy in for about I think it was 91 pitches, and it's why didn't you just start the game with that guy? If he was gonna go out and throw 91 pitches, why didn't you start with him? But other things from that Milwaukee game, David Dahl, who's filling in nicely, or at least based off of one game, he filled in nicely for this one game, got a single, got a home run. As far as who he's filling in for, we'll get more into that when we discuss the bad. But, this game 1 against Milwaukee was real good. No, not too much complaints other than, the offense didn't do much after the 4th, I mean, there was kind of a situation where they were getting on base, but, they didn't do a whole lot. I think on the day, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 hits on the day. And only 1 walk, so it wasn't like they were doing much. But you'll take these wins where they score what they need to and let pitching take care of the rest. Because Wheeler goes, see, this is the dream. This is what you envision, especially for the playoffs, especially, is your starters, whether it be Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Sanchez, is to go that 7. Obviously, we've seen in the playoffs they don't really let Ranger and Sanchez go to 7 or longer than even 4. But I'm saying, the dream scenario for this team is that those guys go out and give you good innings. Let's say 7 each time, because the dream scenario is your starter goes 7, so that after they're out, the team now has to deal with Hoffman and Alvarado interchanging between like who's the setup man, who's the closer, you know, because Hoffman comes in, holds things down, and then Alvarado comes in for his 10th save of the year, I believe. Real good stuff out of this team. But, you know, got to mention it here in the good. The main highlight, of course, is Rhys Hoskins' return to Philadelphia. What an emotional one. I'm glad, you know, even though it's just a return, it's not like, you know, a retirement thing. I'm glad they gave it time, you know. They didn't care about, oh, we need to get the pitch clock going, this and that. Like, they let him have his moment. I love that commentary threw it down to the field with all the stadium sound, you know, no commentary over it, just letting the moment speak for itself, you know. It was very emotional. You could tell Rhys and his wife were very emotional to be back, and Philly was emotional to have him back because, you know, as we talked about when he left, you know, he was a light during the darkest times for this team. A lot of times, you know, it's like there's a lot of different guys, so it's like they were here during like that drought, and they know what it's like, you know. And they also mentioned, you know, his contributions down in the minors for this area, you know, where he really started building that sort of foundation in Philadelphia, you know, really started building himself to be a part of this city, you know. And then it just sucks for him to have left, you know. They might have mentioned on commentary, but it's like you really wonder what things would be like if he didn't get injured last year, you know. How did things play out, especially with Harper, you know, like in what position he goes to, who knows. But, you know, again, it was just very emotional, and you still had a lot of good times, you know, like he obviously gave a little hug to JT when he went up to bat. When he walked and got to first, he hugged Bryce Harper. We saw him steal second base, which was absolutely insane to see. JT doesn't get him in time, but JT tells him, you know, hey, I'll let you get that one. But then there's a single up the middle. Rojas gets the ball. Rhys Hoskins thinking going to home. Rojas throws an absolute missile. They clocked it in, I think it was like 96.7 miles per hour. He gets it to JT. JT tags him out at home, and everyone was having a laugh. And then, of course, Rhys Hoskins, you know, just has to be Rhys. He has to hit a home run in Citizens Bank Park, of course. I think they said he hit like 70-something of them. But, you know, he has to hit a home run. Scare Philly fans a bit. But, nope, that's the only run that the Brewers get this game. But it was fun time, fun memories to see Rhys back. Sucks, you know, but at the same time, that's just the way these things work, you know. But it was good to have him back. It's good to have him back for this series, you know. It's obviously going to be a lot of fun. But, you know, it was cool to see him back. But with that being said, let's talk about the bad that happened throughout this stretch. So, starting off with the bad, obviously the first thing is losing that series against San Francisco. Some of their worst baseball, if we're being honest, so far this season. I know there maybe a couple, like, people might point off a couple other games, like obviously like the series that we lost to Colorado was pretty bad. Their work in the Brave series is always pretty bad, but like, I don't know, this one is pretty bad because it's like you look at especially the first game, we lose it in extras, and like the worst part was, I mean, it was both teams, but like they didn't do anything. They got 7 hits on the day, but no runs, no nothing, you know. And along with that, it's like a lot of guys weren't really hitting too much, you know. Stott went 0 for 4 at the plate that game. Marsh went 0 for 4. Clemens went 0 for 4. Not the best work you want to see, but what could you ask for, you know? Especially because like Wheeler gave you 6 with no earned runs, 9 strikeouts. He did really well. Ryan Kirkin came in and held things down. Jose Alvarado, Hoffman, you know, it's like they held it down. They just couldn't get anything going against this team. And this was a bullpen game too, because it's like Eric Miller came in, gave the Giants 1, Taylor Rogers 2, Spencer Howard 4, Tyler Rogers 1. It was kind of a bullpen game, you know. It was like the fact they weren't able to get much going in that game. Oh, sorry, that was the second game. The first game they lost 8-4. I remember because of what's it called? I forgot what inning was. Was it the second inning? I don't know, but it was because Taijuan Walker was on the mound. No surprise there. 5 earned runs, let up 6 of them. And then the final game we won, but it was like those first 2 games not that good. We lost the last St. Louis game. I believe was that one in yeah, that one was in extras. And again, who was on the mound? Taijuan Walker, 4 earned runs. It's a bit frustrating, you know, to see him have these bad outings, especially knowing how much money is tied down to Taijuan Walker. You could look at it as a good or bad thing, but I didn't even get to watch that game because it was blacked out. But Taijuan Walker, man, really struggling. And people are obviously talking about the fact that Spencer Turnbull has been thrown into the bullpen, you know, when he was doing really good as a starter. And like, I get it, you know, the whole injury concern thing. I get that you want to be cautious with him. You want to be able to have his best sort of baseball available during the playoffs. But it just isn't making too much sense anymore, especially given the fact that it's the fact that you've seen him sort of struggle a bit in his like bullpen outings at times. Now, the St. Louis game, or in one of the St. Louis games, he did well. You know, he gave you 3 innings, 6 strikeouts, didn't let up any runs or walks. But like his previous outings, you know, even though they're pretty good, you still see a bit of struggle. Like in the San Francisco game that we won 6-1, he pitched 1 inning, let up an earned run, but you know, struck a guy out. He's let up a lot of earned runs in his like previous games in the bullpen. You know, like going way back, the Colorado game, he let up an earned run. In the Washington game, he let up 2. In a New York game, he let up 3. Now, the thing is, we like won those games, but it's like it's very clear that he's struggling a bit in that bullpen role, you know. And like it was very clear, like he was in a rhythm. He was doing really well as a starter, but again, I understand the health concern things, but it's just kind of tough to watch, you know. It's tough to watch. Am I blanking on this guy's name? Taijuan Walker struggle when you know that, you know, Turnbull was filling in real nicely for him when he was gone, and the rotation was just doing really good, you know. You don't want to throw the blame all on one guy, but it's tough to watch, you know, them struggle in these games with Taijuan Walker because of, you know, how bad he's been at times. And the thing is, it's like the bullpen, they held it down the rest of that game, but then Soto comes in extra innings and allows the run. And it's like the bullpen did really well, but the offense really couldn't get much going. And then, of course, Soto's been struggling a ton. And then we mentioned David Dahl in the good part. Well, why is David Dahl there? Injuries. You never want to use them as excuses, especially because look at the entire league, man. Everyone's going through injuries at this point. But it sucks because we're already dealing with the Trey Turner injury. And then Ranger goes down. Ranger went down. What game was it? I think it was that first St. Louis game, right? Let me double check. Yeah, it was that first St. Louis game because he got hit by a pitch. So, you know, the bullpen had to come in. They had Jose Ruiz come in. They had Turnbull come in. That's when he threw the 3 innings. Didn't allow anything. Ryan Kirkland comes in. Sir Anthony Dominguez and Gregory Soto, they all shut things down, helped get the win. But yeah, it was like Ranger went down because he got hit by a pitch. Ranger, as cool as ever though, just still picks up that pitch and throws it to first base to get the out. But yeah, he goes down. And then Marsh was kind of limping around, so he's day-to-day right now. I think he's only on the 10-day IL. Cody went down with something. I didn't really see in detail what that was, but Cody Clemens went down with something. So they have to call up David Dahl to fill in for Marsh. They called up Weston Wilson to fill in for Cody Clemens, So really sucks to see those injuries. There was even potentially like a setback in Trey Turner's recovery, I remember hearing. So you're just hoping they don't rush him back, Take your time with him. Edmundo Sosa's been playing really well. But yeah, just like every other team, it sucks to see the injuries here. You always want the best available baseball on the field. So it just really sucks. But while speaking about the best available baseball, let's talk about this team moving forward. Alright, so here is the section I really wanted to get to the most this week because there's a lot to consider moving forward with this Phillies team. And I don't know if we'll see a lot of this play out by the time we come back next week for Philly Talk, but it's just something I want to mention because it's true that there's just so much to consider with this team around this time. So the first thing that you want to see, obviously, as any team wants to see, is that you just want to see this team stay hot, especially as we enter June. June is typically our best month, especially for Kyle Schwarber. He goes off a bit of a slow start, but, he's been doing pretty well so far in June. But you're hoping to see him heat up the way he does in June typically a lot of times. I know yesterday he didn't really do much in that Milwaukee game, but here's the hoping, that he can heat up. June is typically his best month, like I said, so just hoping to see more out of him and the rest of the team to stay hot. And along with that, you got to maintain a steady pace. I believe there's 7 games in the lead for the division, if I remember correctly. 7 games above Atlanta, 42-19, tied with the Yankees. So you want to see them continue that steady pace, especially as you await the returns of your players such as Turner, Ranger, Marsh, Cody. Those guys, you're hoping for them to get back pretty soon. And speaking of while those guys are out and maintaining a steady pace, this is obviously something they're going to do, but I really want them to use this time, even in such a short amount of time, to really evaluate the talents they have on their team. The talents such as Christian Pache with Merrifield, David Dahl, Weston Wilson, Edmundo Sosa. Now, Dahl and Wilson probably aren't going to be up here for long. They're obviously going to be the main candidates to get sent down once Cody and Marsh get back, But it's I bring it up because I want them to really look at these players and use this time to really weigh their options, Obviously, some of these guys are going to have smaller sample sizes to look at, such as David Dahl, Weston Wilson, and even Pache, because they aren't likely to get much playing time. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that it's if in their small time, guys let's say Pache or Merrifield are getting outperformed by, other players on this team that are filling in for these spots. I mean, we've seen Sosa do really well. We saw Cody filling in at times and doing really well. He struggles at times, but he filled in pretty well at times. David Dahl yesterday got a single and a home run. Now, obviously, you don't expect that to maybe keep up. But it's if in these short games where he's filling in for Marsh and he's outperforming Pache, who fills in for Marsh at times, or Merrifield at times. Again, it's smaller sample size, but you gotta weigh your options, you gotta make the hard decisions, because it's for example, with the run that Cody was on, again, he struggled at times, but he was, obviously fitting in real well with this team and doing well. It's I don't see how you can send a guy like him down, not keep him on the team if he continues to perform, especially once he comes back. I don't get how you don't keep him, but you'll keep Merrifield in, you'll keep Pache in, like I said, it's only one game, but Dahl was doing pretty good, and it's not to say that Pache doesn't do good at times. He does provide good at bats for us at times and good defense, but it's other times he fills in for Marsh, and like I said, he goes 0 for 4, and they end up having to pinch hit Marsh in for him, in those later innings, which is well, why don't you just start Marsh the game to begin with? I know he can struggle at times too, but like I'm saying. And then another thing, what do you do about Edmundo Sosa once Turner comes back? He's obviously not going to start against Turner. I'm not calling for that, but it's if he continues to just stay hot and play this hot, it's what do you do? Because I remember 2022, they were shifting him all over the place with Gene Segura and Bryson Stott, you know, and even Alec Boehm at times. It was like he was coming in at times. I mean, he was a part of that ninth inning comeback against the Cardinals in the wild card, you remember? So it's like, if he continues to stay hot, what do? You know, like some people have talked about sending Trey to the outfield. I don't know about that. I don't know too much about what Trey's stats and especially like defensively, you know, how he looked in the outfield, you know, but it's like, there's a lot of things to think about. Obviously, the outcome, the likely outcome that's going to happen is just, hey, we got a guy off the bench that we know can come in and do something for us if we need be, you know, like we have the depth, you know. But I'm just saying, it's like, you got guys like Sosa performing, guys like Cody performing, and then you got guys like Whit Merrifield who are kind of struggling, you know. And it's just like, I don't see the world where you send, again, a guy like Cody Clemens down, you know, when he's been doing really well. And the main thing, just kind of like how I said with Taijuan Walker, is that we have a lot of money tied to a lot of these guys. So, you know, that's why, you know, there's like, we have such like this tie to them because of the money, you know, like with Whit Merrifield and like Taijuan Walker, you know. I mean, even bullpen wise, Jose Ruiz hasn't been all that bad for us. I mean, he's played in 10 games so far for us, 12 innings, 2.25 ERA, 1.083 whip, you know. His past outings, he only let up 1 earned run, but the rest, it was like his previous 4 outings for us didn't let up any earned runs. So it's like, I don't know, he's been doing pretty well, you know, other than that one game in San Francisco, you know. It's like he's been doing pretty well, but he's likely going to get sent down once Junior Marte comes back, which, you know, I don't oppose because Junior Marte was doing pretty good for us. But I bring it up because, again, similar to the offense, a guy like Gregory Soto is gonna take a spot that he could maybe have, even though Soto's been kind of struggling, you know, this season. I mean, 4.91 ERA, not the worst, you know, compared to what it was before, but it's like he's been struggling. Sir Anthony Dominguez has been doing way better as of recent, though. But like a guy like Soto, kind of struggling, you know. And again, like I said, a lot of these guys that I'm mentioning, they have smaller sample sizes. They're coming in smaller roles than a lot of these different guys. So it makes sense. But I'm just like, I'm bringing up this conversation to be like, weigh your options, you know, because the thing is, we want our best baseball on the field, like I said, and you can't let money stop you from doing that. And, you know, this is connecting to the Taijuan Walker thing. I know he has a big contract, but it's like, if he is basically not helping this team in his starts, you know, because he's letting up 3-4 earned runs before he decides to settle in, that's not the best baseball that we can have, you know. And again, it's also on the offense for not playing well at times, for not being able to get that spark. But it's kind of hard to come back when you start the game off in a deficit at times, you know. It's like, usually they want to be the ones that set the tone, get things started. But with Taijuan Walker starts, it's always like, boom, he's laying up 2 earned runs in the second, and now we're having to fight back. Oh, look, we tied it up. Boom, he comes back in and lets up another earned run, lets up another 2 runs. You know, it's like, I want the best baseball on the field. If you have to trade someone, if you have to DFA someone just so that you can keep the hot bats in, to keep, you know, the best pitching on the field, then do it, you know, because it's like I said, we have been doing really well this season. We have to take advantage of everything. We can't allow for any mistakes, you know, and we can't allow ourselves to make the same mistakes that we did last year. What are you going to do come playoff time, you know? Is Taijuan Walker just not going to be available yet again, you know? Heck, use him in a bullpen role in a way so that maybe you can get him prepared to be in the bullpen for us come playoff time, so that he can be useful, you know, like, and not like last year where it's like the guy didn't do anything that entire playoff run. He just was on the bench because they were too afraid to use him in a game. You know, they went with Sanchez in that 1 Game 4 rather than him, you know. So it's like, I want to see these adjustments, and like I said, with a lot of these injuries, just use it to evaluate the guys, use it to really see what is going to be our best options for the bench, for the bullpen, for everything, you know. Really look at things and really just make the best choice for this team. That's all I'm asking, is think of what is going to put the best ball on the field and just go with it, man. Because, you know, there's been a couple struggles, but they're still doing really well. But you just want to see the best ball on the field, like I said. And some of these guys aren't giving you that, you know. Obviously, maybe as the season goes on, they'll get into a flow. But it's like, how much longer can we keep saying that? You know, we're getting into June. It's going to be time to really weigh your options.